Welcome to another episode of OG55. In this reaction video, we are reacting to content creator probably at Disney, talking Carsland at Magic Kingdom, talking VillainsLand at Magic Kingdom. We're going to watch it. We're going to break it down. Up next on Jeezy. Easy. Welcome aboard, everybody, to another episode of OG55, to another fantastic reaction video, this time from content creator probably at Disney. Before we dive right in, George, where can everybody find you on social media, sir?
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You can also find me on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky under the Disney Italiano. And, of course, you can find me right here on my home base on Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner, with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info. And you can also check out my new YouTube channel and Instagram, Citrico Central, sister channel to Orange Grove 55.
There we go. Let's dive right in. All right, so this is courtesy of probably at Disney. So go ahead and go over to probably at Disney on YouTube and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. She makes fantastic content over there. So George, are you ready to dive in, bro?
Let's do it.
Let's get it.
Welcome back to the channel, everybody. You are watching Probably at Disney, and the drama surrounding Disney replacing the Rivers of America with 2 Cars attractions just reached a whole new level, and in a way that maybe for the first time, I think has the potential to change things. So we're going to be on theme today. I'm going to hop aboard the Liberty Bell River boat to cruise around the Rivers of America to talk with you about the latest news and what might be the greatest blow to Disney's current plans for this corner of the Magic Kingdom, and how it all might have an impact on VillainsLand. Now, it is no secret that replacing the Rivers of America with an off-road rally race attraction inspired by Pixar's Cars is wildly unpopular. Granted, not everybody feels that way. You may not feel that.
I respectfully disagree. When you say wildly unpopular, do the normies feel that way? Because, and this is, we talked about this in a recent video. I think it's maybe wildly unpopular, or maybe more unpopular in the nerd fan circle bubble. Yes, I think that these conversations are definitely being had in our little bubble for sure. But wildly unpopular, like, does the soccer mom care about this? Does the family care about, like, from Colorado care about this? I just don't know. I think that normies want the IP. And that's the difference between a lot of us Disney nerds and the normies. Like we said all the time, when we went on the Wish, you and I, George, like 2 years ago, a lot of Disney fans complained about Marvel too, a lot. Okay. And we went into that Marvel restaurant, and when Spider-Man walked in that room, you would have thought Elvis came back from the dead. I say it all the time, but not everyone watches every video. The normies are on a different wavelength than the general public. Epic Universe too. Epic Universe, the sightline issue is a huge thing for a lot of Disney, well, not even Disney, but like theme park fans. The sight lines where you can see Stardust Racers right when you walk into Isle of Burke. Like, the nerds care about it. The nerds are debating it. The nerds are talking about it. But does the soccer mom and the family care? No, they probably don't. So there is a disconnect. So it's not wildly unpopular. Now, it is more probably unpopular amongst the bubble, the nerd bubble, but I don't think the normies feel that way necessarily. What say you, George?
First off, I have to go back to your statement with the Disney Wish, which is very true, because during that same cruise, our good friend Mindy attended the Seize the Adventure stage show, which was the first night of our cruise. And the cruise director asked, how many first timers are here on your first Disney cruise? And she said it was a good 3/4 of the theater that said it was their first Disney cruise ever, because we took a 3-night cruise, and a lot of beginners start with a 3-night cruise. So you're right. So when we went into the worlds of Marvel and Spider-Man came out, it was all the first timers, it was all the normies, it was all the vacationers with the young kids. So yeah, I could definitely agree with you on that. Also, I also agree with you to the fact that I don't even think the Cars franchise being in a Disney park is wildly unpopular, because we could see it out here at California Adventure. Carsland is immensely popular. You could look at the standby wait time for Springs racers. It could reach up to 120 minutes. You know, I think, and I mentioned this in a previous video that we recorded, is I feel like it's not really the IP that is bothering people. I feel like what's bothering them is where it's going and what it's replacing.
That's it. Yeah, that's what it is. But again, that is very much, I think, centered on the nerd realm.
Absolutely.
And I'm part of that, and you're part of that. So I'm not like talking shit. I mean, I'm a nerd. I mean,
but
like
it's the truth though. A normie, we can go outside right now and go to a normie who maybe goes to a Disney park maybe every 5 or 6 years and say, and they have 2 young kids. Hey, are you cool with them doing a Cars area in Magic Kingdom, and it's replacing the Rivers of America? Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't care. You know, that's what it's going to be. But you ask a diehard Disney fan who's in the inner circle, the inner bubble, like we are, they'd be like, oh my gosh, like that's blasphemy.
Well, let me ask you a question. You're more of a Florida guy. I've only been once. It was like a couple years ago. Has Frozen Ever After seen less traffic since it was transformed from Maelstrom to Frozen?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's, I mean, Maelstrom, when it was Maelstrom, you were looking at maybe like a 5-10 minute wait. When it became Frozen Ever After, you're looking at like a 60+ minute wait.
And that tells you where the normies' heads are at, bro. You know, because that was another situation where like the nerds were getting all crazy about it. Like, wow, how could they replace Maelstrom with Frozen? And I get it. You know, I mean, everyone, you have a right to be upset. I'm not saying you don't, but we also have to be, as Disney nerds, have to be self-aware to know that we might not be on the same page as the family of 5 that doesn't go on social media and talk about this stuff all day long. So just a different situation. So
that way, I'm personally not opposed to changes or updates, and I like the idea of more terrain. But overall, most park fans vary between being skeptical about Disney's vision for this part of Frontierland to outright angry about this modern Pixar IP replacing a classic Disney park space that's intended to be anything but modern, and which was part of Walt Disney's vision for Disneyland and Disney World's Magic Kingdom. Disney first announced these 2 car rides at last year's D23 in August, but they did not reveal the location or that they would be replacing the rivers.
And I will say this as a Californian who has gone through this process of seeing concept art and actually experiencing the Cars Land itself. The concept art for Cars Land for California did not do the justice. It did not prepare you for how amazing this area looks in person. It is absolutely breathtaking, gorgeous. And I'm not just, I mean, not in a fake way either. I get it. It's a fake fantasy IP. I understand that. But the rock work and everything is absolutely surreal. It looks very realistic. Beautiful grand reveals when you come in from like San Francisco. You see that the beautiful mountain range. Yes, it's a fake mountain range. I get it. It's Disney, but at the end of the day, it still has that natural beauty to it. It still feels like a natural space. So if Disney can duplicate that vibe and energy with this, I don't think that the fans at Walt Disney World are gonna be disappointed. And this is even kind of cooler in a lot of ways than the one at Disneyland, or I'm sorry, at DCA, because this takes like that national park thing, like that Grizzly Peak kind of vibe, and mixes it with like, you know, the Radiator Springs. You have 2 of the coolest parts of DCA kind of coming together as one cohesive land here, the potential's through the roof. Again, we'll see how the execution is, but I think there's going to be a lot of aesthetics here that I think are going to surprise people. That's all I'm trying to say. So
yeah, I completely agree. And I remember seeing the first pieces of concept art for Carsland back in 2007, and what they showed, it kind of looked very plasticky, very kind of like toy-like, if you will. And again, I was still okay with it because I mean DCA at that time really needed help, so I was happy for whatever they got. But they just kind of depicted like what the land was going to be about. It, they never really showed like how massive of the scope and the detail of the rock work, and how it was really going to make you feel like you're walking into Radiator Springs. Like
right.
that was so and honestly, folks, for all of you who have not been to Carsland yet, for your first time, go through San Francisco and walk through that entranceway. Your mind will be blown.
Absolutely. The aesthetics are through the roof. So I'm not even worried about that really. You know what I'm saying? Like I think this is gonna be a gorgeous area with a lot of natural beauty. Like Carsland in California. Yes, you have the cartoon cars going around the racetrack. I get that. You see them. I get it. But there is also so much organic, and I'm using quotations here, organic sort of beauty as well with the rock work and like the cliff sides and little waterfalls and stuff. It's just beautiful. It's absolutely stunning.
Well, and I think
Sawyer
also
Island
too, what a lot of people have to remember too is if you go back, and again, I know these weren't popular Disney movies, but when you go back and watch the Planes franchise, which is basically in the same realm, the same world of Cars, a lot of the wilderness terrain that they are utilizing is in the fictitious space of the area that they used for, I believe it was Planes Fire and Rescue.
All right.
So,
yep. Absolutely.
the riverboat until a day later due to expected backlash. And yes, that backlash has been intense, but in recent weeks, the outcry has gotten way, way worse, beginning with Imagineering South by Southwest presentation about this ride. Unfortunately for Disney, that panel did little to change the negative narrative surrounding Disney's plans. Neither did Imagineering's follow-up behind-the-scenes video. And if you're tuned into the news at all, you know that Disney has been struggling in the stock market. And yes, I know the market is kind of upended across the board right now, but Disney struggles are unique since they have huge projects in the pipeline, are making tons of money off of Lightning Lane, are investing more into the parks, and yet are still having issues and in the face of Universal's Epic Universes opening in May. But it just got even worse in recent days when Forbes published a lengthy piece about Disney's slipping financial performance, but all within a focus on the described furious backlash for replacing Magic Kingdom's Rivers of America. And this is incredibly interesting because the stock market and spreadsheets are kind of the steering wheel of the company right now. It's a very reactive time within Disney's history from a decision-making standpoint. So having a prominent financial publication focus on the unpopularity of a project in addition to the company's difficulties, that's going to leave a mark because it's likely to create even less confidence in Disney's stock. And that's on top of the other current economic factors and concerns. And all of that may influence Disney to change course in ways.
See, I don't think Wall Street looks at this change the same way the Disney nerds look at this change. Wall Street's looking at this change thinking dollar signs. Okay. They're thinking, wow, okay, we're going to remove this river and put Cars, the $1 billion merch king. Like, I respectfully disagree. I'm sorry. I mean, I don't think Wall Street is looking at this going, wow, this is a bad thing. I think Wall Street really likes it, to be honest with you. So yeah, I don't think Wall Street really minds. I think it's more the diehard Disney fans. I think Wall Street's looking at this going, wow, the merch king Cars is moving in. Wall Street's on board. So we'll see.
Ways that fan petitions and internet chatter haven't been able to do so thus far. I do want to mention Forbes did try to defend the Cars ride in one area, and that is in claiming that it keeps to the company's ethos of thrilling, cutting edge technological attractions. But I don't think fans are going to agree with that assessment, especially in light of what we're seeing from Epic Universe. Plus, the article referenced the Cars vehicles as being trackless, which we now know is not the case. I also want to highlight that Forbes quoted former Imagineers, including Eddie Sato and Jim Scholl, for why Rivers of America should not be replaced. Forbes specifically noted Eddie Sato's social media post about this issue, which read, "Losing the river is not just about nostalgia. It's a subconscious contrast that gives the other lands their immersive impact. Sleek metal future versus vast untamed nature,
That's fair.
chocolate and peanut butter. Stepping from one into another makes the immersion experience fun and impossible."
See, and this is why I like Eddie Soto. I don't always agree with Eddie, obviously, but I respect Eddie a lot. And all too often in this community, you know, we get a lot of like hot takes and craziness, right? You know what I'm saying? While I disagree with him on stuff, he makes a good point with that. I mean, that's a valid concern with this. I mean, what say you, George? What do you think about like you have that juxtaposition where you have the hustle and bustle of Tomorrowland, the sleek architecture, and then you go over here and it's like just untamed wilderness. It gives you that contrast. I mean, that's something that honestly, that's valid, I think, right?
It is valid. It is very valid. I actually can understand his point with that, because as much as the river doesn't really do too much for the typical travelers or vacationers with like young kids and what have you, it does give a very tranquil kind of feel to it. Yeah, like with the hustle and bustle of like in Fantasyland or Tomorrowland, Frontierland always kind of had that relaxful peacefulness to it. So I could definitely understand Eddie's point that the second that they were to put in Cars, which as much as it would still look very lush and very nature driven, but it's definitely going to pack in a lot of crowds for these attractions. So I definitely understand him at that, but I also look at the other spectrum where that's what Disney needs. They need to fill in more gaps for people to come through the turnstiles.
Right. And Disney made a big to-do about capacity not too long ago, right? So that helps with capacity. Now, also, to be fair, on the other side of the argument, Eddie makes a great point. I'm not denying that. It's valid. I totally see what he's saying. And he's not necessarily wrong. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I see what he's saying. But there is like I said earlier on in the show, a national park element to this Carsland. And we do know that with Grizzly Peak out here in DCA, there is a lot of that sort of Rivers of America, calm, enjoying the nature kind of vibes, right? You might get some of that in this land. Like, I wouldn't completely discard the idea that you might get that. Just because it's Pixar Cars doesn't mean every area of the land is going to be ka-chow, ka-chow. You know what I'm saying? There could be areas that are very chill and just a bunch of trees or something. We just don't know. And I think that until we get into it where like they're building it and we see what they've got going for it, we're not really going to know. And there's going to be anger until this thing is kind of open and we kind of see more. Nothing Disney says is gonna make the doubters really less nervous until we actually see what's being built. Go ahead, George.
And actually, I'm glad you said that. But I do think for Disney's credit, and I can't speak for them, but I think honestly, even though Disney isn't responding to a lot of people's emails or letters or tweets or what have you, I still feel like they're listening, and they still could be taking that into consideration, that when this is all said and done and construction starts and the project is completed, fans might get what they were asking for.
Well, and that's the thing, right? That's the thing. That's the beauty. Then this is the problem with the internet. Okay. The problem with the internet is either it's black or white. It's either these two extremes. It's either all or nothing, 0 or 100, basically, right? So it's either this project goes through the way it was shown to us in the concept art, or it's canceled completely. But likely, usually the way things actually happen is usually the gray area, is usually where things usually land. So you have a great point, George, where it's like they can listen to fans, they can still go through with the project, but they can listen to fans and they can add some more natural ambiance, like Eddie Soto was talking about, and things like that. So, yeah, we're still gonna get the Cars thing, but they'll make changes to make certain fans or people that are concerned less worries, like give them less anxiety about it, where it's like, okay, maybe it's not exactly what I would have done, but you know what, the execution's pretty good, right? So it's probably going to fall in that gray area, George. I do agree with you. They are probably taking notes as to how to make this kind of more of a compromise. Like I said before too, when it came to the Muppet decision, a lot of fans, I know you're going to get mad at me for saying this, but I think that was sheer brilliance. You got rid of the Muppet Courtyard. You got rid of Muppet Vision. Obviously, that was going to be a controversial decision on Disney's part. So what did Disney do? We take this beloved franchise and we kill two birds with one stone, and we put that franchise in the Rock and Roller Coaster attraction, right?
Because eventually Rockin' was going to go anyway. They were having a lot of issues with it. The contract with Aerosmith was about to be up, so they were going to do something with it anyway. And you're right, It was killing two birds with one stone, because it's like, let's give the Muppets actually an attraction, not just a 3D show.
Yes, so the Muppets are getting an actual attraction, and you're breathing new life into this outdated Rock and Roller Coaster. Most kids nowadays don't know who Aerosmith is. You know what I'm saying? So it's better to have the Muppets in there, and kind of revitalize it. And the Muppets are cool too, because the Muppets are kind of meta. Like if you watch the old Muppet Show, they had like actual Hollywood celebrities like Mark Hamill and what have you on that show. So there's a possibility that you might even get a cycling through. It's Muppets, yes, but they might have for maybe a season where it's Muppets with BTS or something, or Taylor Swift, where, not to say it's gonna be permanently like that, but like where these actual music artists kind of come in and out of that attraction alongside the Muppets, right? So there's a lot of potential there, but that's why I thought it was really brilliant what Disney did, because they gave fans more Muppets. They also are revitalizing a dying attraction. It was a perfect compromise as to how they handled that. So the reason why I bring that up is because with this, they might do similar things where it's like, hey, you know what? Yeah, fans are right. We need a little bit, some areas, a little bit low key, a little more ambiance. We'll add that to this. You know what I'm saying? So it's all part of the process.
Absolutely.
Even in energy level, parks are now adding decompression lawns, but the river in Tom Sawyer Island played that role for decades. Parks should be designed holistically and emotionally. So the question is, will Disney now backtrack on Cars, not only because they were just kind of blasted by Forbes for the financial world to see, but also because of a growing lack of confidence in their stock, and that they may now need to save money amidst their current economic issues?
So we have, hold on one second. Cardigan, navy blue khakis. You could not get more Bob Iger than that fit right there. Classic Absolutely. Bob.
That's classic.
Yeah, classic Bob. Love it.
Economic issues. The one caveat, the one obstacle that might keep Disney from tossing out their Frontierland plans and keeping the Rivers of America may actually be VillainsLand, which is interesting because VillainsLand is wildly popular while replacing the rivers is very unpopular. And I'm curious if fans would be willing to be okay with keeping the rivers if it meant losing VillainsLand. We'll get back to that in a minute. But from what the concept art shows, it seems that removing the river may be necessary to create that entryway into VillainsLand, especially since this here is the current queue for Haunted Mansion. I have also speculated that Disney is planning to use the drained riverbank, or at least part of it, to offer varying elevations in VillainsLand to allow for that Maleficent dragon coaster to be set in the ground. And I do wonder...
And that's why these decisions aren't just simply current Disney just hates nostalgia. Current Disney hates America, or whatever the narrative is. It's so much more complicated than the kind of like the bumper sticker sloganeering that you hear a lot of people.
It's a domino effect. They do
Right.
one thing for it to go down the line for something else.
Right. So you have this you want the multi-layers for the Maleficent Castle. So, you know, it makes sense that you'd have to get rid of the river to do that. Obviously, we talked about earlier on in the show that, you know, the river does have issues structurally. That was probably going to cost them a lot of money to fix that. So there's a lot of things factored into these decisions. It's not just, you know, Bob Iger twirling his mustache. How can I fuck them over today? You know, it's not like that. You know what I'm saying? Not to say Disney always makes a good decision, because they don't. Believe me, we criticize Josh D'Amaro, Bob Iger all the time. Okay, Bob Iger fumbled the bag on epic proportions with that CEO trade-off to Chapek. Okay, you couldn't have fumbled it any worse. So believe me, we have plenty of criticism to go around. You know what I'm saying? But I think with these kind of situations, I think park fans are way too quick just to sort of boil it down to this little, like this sloganeering, like, well, they just hate America. It's like, nah, man. I mean, it's not like, it's a lot of times there's so many different elements to this that come into play. And I think it's way more than what fans are assuming, in my opinion. So
Yes.
If the height of the Cars attraction and that mountain is necessary to protect VillainsLand sightlines. And while all of that may be true, it's worth noting that these former Imagineers Forbes referenced do believe that the rivers of America can exist along with VillainsLand and the Cars rides. Both Eddie Sato and Jim Schultz.
yes, it can, but the point isn't, obviously it can. Obviously the river can exist. Obviously they could have worked it. But
So that's what I was saying earlier. Or in a previous video, it definitely can work, but there is a legitimate reason why Disney won't let it.
Right. Exactly, George. No, you hit the nail on the head, bro. You hit the nail on the head. They can, yes, but they don't want to spend the money to fix the river and whatever that's going to entail. That's the point. You know, and I don't know.
Posted their own concepts for how this could be achieved.
Sure.
And Disney has proven to the rivers of America out of Disneyland. When they added Galaxy's Edge, yeah, they shortened the river, but they kept the river because it was not even just because of the history, but it was a necessity to what it means for Disneyland.
It's different.
This is a completely different situation where if something is causing them to spend more money and it's not working, and it's like, well, how can we kind of fix the issue? Well, if we're going to get rid of it anyway, let's let it be part of a major Magic Kingdom expansion.
Right. Exactly.
I personally feel like without these two projects with Cars and Villains, the river was going to be doomed anyway.
No, yeah, absolutely. I agree. And the only thing I think the big thing saving Disneyland's is obviously the history, because they would be, if you think the blowback for this is bad, I mean, the Disneyland one would be 1,000 times worse. Yeah. But even that, the Disneyland one would even be worse in the media. Like this Forbes article is nothing, small potatoes compared to what Disneyland's would be, because Disneyland, there's so much history there. But aside from the history, it's a monetized river. We have our Fantasmic on that river. That show sells dining packages. That show makes a moolah for Disney. That's a different equation. Michael Eisner never put Fantasmic on this river. Maybe he should have, because if he did, it will probably still be there, fans. But he decided he wanted to put it in MGM or Disney Hollywood Studios, which I think was kind of a mistake, to be honest with you. Like I've said before, with Fantasmic at Disneyland, the beauty and the magic of it is how organic it feels. The park is the stage. At Hollywood, you walk into a Shamu amphitheater. it loses the wonder a little bit. It's like, that's why fireworks shows are so amazing, because you're in the park and it goes off around you in the existing park. You don't go into like a stadium and launch pyro in the stadium. It just loses it. You know what I'm saying? So
exactly.
Anyway, I'm sure all the Florida OG55 fans hate us by now. So
on social media. And I especially like Sato's sketch as it saved the path to VillainsLand, created another path to that land from Fantasyland, and even created a cavern under a rock bridge that could lead guests to Big Thunder, making that attraction itself its own kind of island. All of that sounds better than what we've had or are likely to have. Finally, as further evidence of Disney's growing concerns, I want to mention that members of the media were recently invited to meet with Disney executives to talk about the Disney bubble. Disney also explained to them how they make certain decisions. And they also talked about how Disney responds to guest feedback. Is that timing coincidental? It's definitely something to consider. And
it's not coincidental. Absolutely. I agree with her in alluding to the fact that there is a connection. And I think 2-3 years ago, Disney probably wouldn't have responded to the Forbes thing. I think they're more aggressive right now in responding is because Josh D'Amaro, I've said this before, I'm going to say it again. Josh D'Amaro wants to become the next Disney CEO. He cannot afford to have hit pieces on his division go unanswered. So that's why you saw a swift response by Disney. Now, believe me, 2, 3, 4 years ago, they wouldn't have cared. Okay, it's one article. Who cares? But right now, Josh really does care because he can't let that thing gain traction. Because there's a lot of heat on the Dana Walden stuff more because of her, her division with like Trump and the debate and all that stuff, right? Not to get political, but it's just the way it is. So there's more heat on Dana, and she's more seen as woke, right? So a lot of people get on her for that. But with Josh, he doesn't have that heat. He doesn't have that spotlight. So he's got to nip this stuff in the bud when these articles come up. And that's why you saw a swift response. It was not because I don't think it's so much they're worried about like people not liking it or whatever. It's more about Josh and him running for CEO, in my opinion.
Exactly.
I think now the public reaction to Muppet Vision 3D closing at Hollywood Studios may prove more influential to Disney's decision-making than previously thought, since this is another example of Disney replacing a classic attraction with something that few guests actually want. So that is all I have on this topic for now. It is safe to say the next few weeks and months will be interesting to watch.
So I want to give a big shout out to Probably at Disney. And here on the channel on OT55, we make it very clear that we do not agree even with each other on stuff. And so we disagree and we still have a fun time talking about this nerdy stuff. And I disagree with Probably at Disney on a lot, to be honest with you, but she makes great content. And so I encourage all my subscribers, all our friends out there to definitely go ahead and check out her YouTube channel, subscribe to her, and she brings a lot of interesting perspectives. So check her out. I will definitely be linking her channel down below. George, any final thoughts before we skedaddle, bro?
Yeah, definitely. On this particular topic matter, there was a lot that I disagreed with her as well. But all in all, she did a great video. I do love her content. I have been watching her for quite some time, and I think that she's a real raw talent, and I think her channel is just going to keep growing, and and her videos are very interesting to react to.
Well, I'm telling you, I'm impressed. I was looking at her channel. I mean, she has I think she has 2.2 so like 2,200 subs, right? Good amount, no doubt. But her videos are doing crazy good in terms of views and stuff. I mean, so her content's really engaging. People are really, really enjoying it. So despite having a relatively small amount of subs, her videos are getting all kinds of traction. So that's pretty awesome. Absolutely. So George, any final, you already gave your final thought. Never mind. Where can everybody find you on social media, sir?
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You can also find me on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you can find me right here on my home base on Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info. And you can also check out my new YouTube channel and Instagram page, Citrico Central, sister channel to Orange Grove 55.
There he is. Check out Citrico Central. Right now, we got a couple bar chats. If you're not familiar as to what a bar chat is, we basically take this format where we nerd out, speculate, get real nerdy down and dirty. But we do it in the parks. So usually we go to a bar That's why it's their bar chats. And we'll have a few beers. And or I'll have a few and George will babysit his. You know, that's usually how it is. I gotta mess with you. No, but we sit at the bar, we have a few drinks, and we just nerd out. We just talk about stuff. And it's a really, really good time. If you like the OG55 kind of discussion stuff, and if you're here, you probably do, you will love the bar chats over at Citrico Central. So check it out. Thank you so much for watching this episode of OG55. We're going to end it like we always end this video with the one, the only, Her Majesty, the Queen with 3 E.
Thank you for watching OG55. If you aren't already, consider becoming a member today.